Florida, man, Thursday night.
I'm gonna call this the measured reaction. It's
yeah, I mean, you kind of called it before the year started that Florida was going to be dealing with some issues this year, but buddy, that was painful.
Here's the problem with this, okay? It's not just that Florida's bad or looked bad for one game, or we'll see how the season plays out. It's that I watched that game on Saturday or on Thursday. I wasn't surprised. That's what I thought Florida was going to look like. They look like what. That's why I said on the Thursday show. It's not great that Cam Rising's out. It's not great that Brant Keithy's out, and it's not going to matter because Utah's just going to roll them, and they did. And Utah probably left some points on the board in that ball game, I think. And ultimately, it's crazy to me. I don't know that they'll end up there, Ari. But the fact that we can ask the question, is Florida the worst team in the SEC in 2023? And you don't know for sure that it's not, and you're in year 2 at Florida? I don't care what else is happening in the world, what else is happening in your program, how many injuries you've had, how many $13 million checks didn't clear. I don't care. That should never be a question that you have to ponder. And it might come true. Because the only other team that we're talking about, right, is probably Vanderbilt, maybe Missouri, maybe Mississippi State. We'll see what those teams look like. But Vandy beat you last year, and they looked okay today too. So, man, it's not good. It's not good. It's a problem.
The thing that is interesting too is just if Florida just stinks. It's one thing to have a record that's not very good or to lose one possession games and
what stinks. 1-7 in the SEC.
I don't know if stinks is something that we can put on paper with a record. I think stinks is just watching games that look like the one on Thursday.
Yeah,
and those will probably turn into a lot of losses. But we were all amped up to watch the first, big time game of the season on Thursday night, and it was unwatchable if you're a Florida fan. And there was this notion, at least from me, that I was like, hey, you know what? Graham Mertz was at Wisconsin. He might have been used poorly. Billy Napier is pretty high on what he brings to the table. And, maybe he'll come out firing. Maybe he'll be somebody different than we think he is. And the most ironic part about this is that, in this loss, Mertz completed 31 passes for 44 yards, 31 attempts,
31 completions, 44 attempts. Yeah.
31 completions, 44 attempts, 333 yards. First time in his entire career, Dave, that he has thrown for more than 300 yards. And that's what it looked like.
Well, at the end of the day, we talked about this with Shedeur a little bit, is the quarterback, you got to be able to get the ball from point A to point B reliably, run the offense, make the decisions, find the open guy. Quarterback is a very complex position, but it's also not a very complex position. Make your reads, find the open guy, decide you're going to throw it to the open guy, throw the ball, put it where it needs to be, and move on to the next play. And there were this is my biggest issue with Mertz, regardless of anything else, is when you're throwing little bubble screens and a comebacker and these slants and these easy throws that a quarterback, you have to have those. He was very unreliable. Slants behind guys, high throws on a bubble, balls in the dirt. You can't do that stuff. And he was doing it consistently and costing them yards and moving the chains and all this stuff. And it's a problem.
Catherine Pete asked, is Dion petty enough to go to Gainesville after Colorado? That's hilarious.
Well, he's the guy who says he's not a Noel, so he would say it's not petty, right?
Yeah. It is funny too. We're already penciling in Dion into the top 10 jobs in America. I don't know if I'm quite there yet. It's still a lot to see unfold. But
are you saying you don't believe Ari? He's going to come after you if you ever have to interact with Dion. And he's going to say, I saw what you said on that little podcast. I don't believe in you.
Listen, I'll tell you one thing. And we don't have to go right back down into this chamber of, but if I were in that room and he goes, and I had a question and he goes, I saw what you said. I'd just be like, I was wrong. It's my job. As a podcaster,
but here's the thing though, Ari. I think Ed was caught off guard because he doesn't write. So he asked him,
what did he even do?
I wrote about it. So I'm writing. There's another story that I wrote about tomorrow, talking about the day inside the Deion experience, and nothing. There was a tweet in March where Ed, like, just in a retweet, like, pretty straightforward, called him a celebrity coach. Like, Edward isn't right. He does TV. So, like, I think it was just Deion being
no matter who it was.
Yeah, I think it was one of those deals. I think it's Deion being theatrical for theatrical sake, and maybe it wasn't even directed at Ed Werder as much as directed.
But there was somebody else who
media.
did it too. He goes, "Do you believe now?" And that woman,
was Ed. No, that was Ed.
Okay, I thought I heard another one where there was a woman.
There was another. I mean, there was like 4 times.
Do you believe now?
Like,
do you believe?
Yeah.
Do you believe? I just feel like, I don't know what you want from me here, guy. Like, I mean, I just like, the thing that is tough about our job, and I don't want to like throw the journalism thing into it, is like, we are sports reporters who are trained, and our job is to react to things that happen and report on how, why, and when it happened.
Well,
and somewhere along the line,
that's how I see the job. Yeah,
that's how I see the job. Mm-hmm. But somewhere along the line, as podcasting became more prevalent, and people put picks into the publications,
I think a lot of it is the embrace.
It's all about
TV stuff that trickles down.
Yeah, but it's like our jobs. Like, listen, buddy, and I've said it on this podcast, and I'll say it again. If I knew how to accurately predict games at a really, really high level, that'd be the Pacific Ocean behind me, pal. Not a wall. I wouldn't be in Dallas. I'd be in Vegas on the weekends, and I would be in Laguna Beach, just gambling my ass off. And our job is not to accurately predict the games. We do our best with the information that we have. But listen, buddy, I think I know quite a bit about college football. I spend more than 40 hours a week thinking about, talking about, and researching it. And I got my ass kicked today.
Informed opinions can still be wrong. And I think, Ari, there's a lot more people in the world that like believe that journalists' job, especially sports journalists, is to like predict and be right about stuff. You can have informed opinions if you're just spouting off or whatever. Like we know in the business who does their homework and who doesn't. It's very clear. You can tell. But if you're an informed opinion and you're still wrong, I mean, the reality is nobody's done anything that Deion has done. So, whatever. I don't particularly care. But it was a weird person to go after today, just in general.
But it's just like a weird dynamic too, because it's like the bottom can certainly fall out at any point too. It's like you won a good.
I don't know, Ari. I don't know, Ari. They're pretty.
You won a good game against TCU, and like, I'm not saying that we're overreacting, but like, you didn't win the Super Bowl, man. Like, you got a long season. You got a thin offensive line, probably. You got a few injuries away from stinking again. Like,
there's a lot of people who thought this was going to be a joke. Who thought this was going to be a disaster area. And whatever happens,
it's not on this podcast or anybody at The Athletic.
No, but there's a lot of people out there that do feel that way. And so you did prove that you're not that. And so in that sense, you did actually win the Super Bowl, because you've already proven by nature of playing the way they did. Regardless,
if anybody understands anything about college football and saw the flip that he did with his roster numbers, with the roster that we saw going from 63 to 36 in the composite talent rankings, and the staff that he hired, knew it wasn't going to be Chuck E. Cheese on a field. You know what I mean? Like, it was going to be a pretty good team. So, or a team that might lose games because, they have some holes and some depth issues at some key positions, but not a team that didn't know how to line up,